coalition with anybody that has revolution on their mind.
We call a coalition meeting. To bring them all together. It came together, man. We all sit together. Boys, you look good, boy.
This here is the Rainbow Coalition button, and there's white, brown, yellow, red, and black. Didn't matter what color you wore this with pride.
The Rainbow Coalition was about uniting communities so that we can make revolutionary change.
Our communities were all struggling for the same cause. In unity, there was force.
Urban Southern whites with Puerto Ricans and blacks. I don't think there had ever been anything that substantial in any urban environment.
What was going on in your neighborhood? The same thing was going on in my neighborhood, you know? And how are you going to change that? You ain't going to change it by hating the people in the other neighborhood. But the fastest way to change that was for those neighborhoods to come together. Housing issues, police brutality, just being fed up. That's what we could all agree on.
The Panther Party in Chicago, they're not only organizing the young lords, they're creating coalitions with another vanguard revolutionary group called the Young Patriots. Poor white people have begun to relate to the 10-point platform and program of the Black Panther Party. The young Appalachian white people.
Welcome to another episode of I Am the Revolution. I'm your host for today's episode. My name is CJ, or Compton J, or just J in real life. Today is a very important topic, specifically for the moment right now that all of us are living through in what we call here on RBN the collapsing of an empire. What am I looking for? Oh, this. So today's episode, the reason why it relates so much today is because today we're at a time that's similar to the time when these cats was around, 60s, 70s. What was going on? You're talking war, you're talking high inflation, you're talking the same sort of racial sort of problem, culture problems going on. What do we have today? We have a uniparty that's marching to Armageddon, instigating and trying to pick a fight with China and Russia. So I need to have that sound on. So sorry, my apologies. This is the time that in history where a multicultural, multi-generational, multi-ethnicity, multi-shade, really multinational too, or international coalition to stop these psychopaths that's going to kill all of us. So I felt like a topic like this, I really needed to feel it. So I felt it today. All my topics, I have to feel the topic. And today I felt like we need to really talk about how a revolution can and will be built. So that is what we're doing today. And as always with these episodes, I always like to say what the I Am the Revolution episodes. It feels like these are the people who come to watch these episodes are the most eager, ready for a revolution for a movement, if not a revolution. So let's let me see here. Okay, so let's do just a few announcements. If you be on our guest list or our not guest list, our mailing list, where you get notifications when we go live or we do streams or clips. Get on our mailing list, and that's at Substack. The other thing is thank you for those that got us over to 32,000. I know it's more than 32,100, but that's the last update that I do have. Oh, and the last thing, of course, like the stream, you're here. You already know what to do. There's 50 people. Let's get 50 likes. Let's check out and see what you're talking about before we get into today's the meat and potatoes today. But we have a couple of articles. We got a couple of videos. One is a documentary that was very hard to find for free. And so when we watch it, you'll see the top of it is like cut off. It looks like it's what do they call the frames when it's like a movie frame when it's stretched? Anyway, that's what it looks like. Because clearly it must have edited out like a banner that maybe told you who owned it or something like that. So anyway, there we have that documentary, and then we have I couldn't believe I found this, but there's actual footage of one of the meetings that Bobby Lee had when he went down and to work with the young Patriots out in Chicago. This is the actual meeting where we're going to be able to hear what they're talking about. And you'll recognize some of the footage if you've been following RBN. You'll recognize some of the footage because we have clips that we've played from this. So lots of good stuff to get to today. But let's see what everybody's saying. Everybody's kind of just welcoming. What's up, everybody? Okay. Yes. Series I Am the Revolution. I published a research paper discussing working class politics. Awesome. I wonder if somebody's messaging me for a reason here. I'll get it in a second once we get started. Once we play the beginning of the video, I will do that. All right. So how do we unite with conservatives and Trump voters? Well, I don't know if unite is the word I would use. Unite is about concessions. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about solidarity, which is more about acceptance. Your problem is my problem. So it doesn't matter what the name of the person or the group is: conservative, Trump voters, KKK members, farmers. Like, it doesn't matter. Whoever believes in this revolution are the people that are going to go, are the people who are going to participate. There seems to be a misunderstanding about coalition building. Like, you're going to make a pitch to somebody to convince them. That's not what this is. It's like, who wants to go and destroy capitalism? Let's go. You get what I'm saying? It's not, who's Trump voters? How do we convince? That's not how things were going to go or should go. Labels like Trump supporters, Biden supporters won't even be used in these conversations about coalition building, because those are the people who we're trying to destroy, trying to get. This is what I mean. In the same way, it's funny that we don't say, how are we going to unite with Biden vote supporters? You get what I'm saying? It's the same answer. if you are a Biden supporter, guess what? You're not going to be part of the revolution. You're supporting the people we're trying to get. You see what I mean? Like, so whether it's Biden or Trump supporters, they're supporters, that by definition means they're not trying to be revolutionary. So in the same way, when they say, unite you KKK, really? What KKK is trying to unite with us? The question not you just gave, but the question of KKK, I find very silly when people ask that. You want to unite with races, really? So races are trying to unite with black people now? That's what races do today? So it's a very silly concept to me when people say that about races in particular. So let's get to also I got to enough comments. I want to get to the story because it's very interesting to me. It's one that's needed for this time. We got 75 people watching. Hit that like button, 75 people. And now let's get into should I preface it with this? No, let's get into the story. I was gonna say, should I preface it with a story? No, we're gonna get right into the documentary. It's called The First Rainbow Coalition. It's decent. I'm not gonna say it's the best, but it's decent. So I'm saying from a Marxist sort of socialist point of view, it's decent. There's a lot of that maybe I would have differently, but again, this is a pretty decent documentary that we're going to watch. And then I'm not, at a time, I'm just going to pause the video and then we'll bring up the other where it shows the meeting. But first, let's get into some of the story. Oops, I thought I drug this all the way back. Let's get into the story, and you see what I mean here at the top, this little line. They obviously cut out and pressed the frame. But anyway, let's watch. I think I should make myself low here. Let's do that. All right, so here we go. Let's turn up the sound. That'll work.
If you're white, you're right. If you're black, stay back.
But I don't think the majority know how to live like the white people.
Well, like I say, there's a place for them. They have their own place. They can stay there.
It's in Chicago, but we have no ghetto, and we have no Negro ghetto.
Chicago has the largest concentration of Negroes in an urban ghetto of any major city in the United States.
The biggest and most serious problem confronting the city of Chicago is her race problem.
Do you think we're going to have racial warfare?
I certainly see that coming.
We need to teach people is we are citizens adapted in itself, the same respect.
You see, people are learning to struggle together, people are learning to fight together.
They say I'm black and I hate white people. I'm white and I hate black people. I'm Latin American and I hate hillbillies. I'm hillbilly, I hate Indians. So we fight amongst each other. We're gonna fight racism, not racism, but we're gonna fight in solidarity.
When I was young, I did everything all the other gang members did, and I would get into a lot of trouble. A rough kid. I was in the House of Correction and the whole Martin Luther King gets killed, and the rioters are coming into the jail in mass. And at the same time, I'm hearing about the Black Panther Party on the loudspeaker on the radio.
We're going to defend ourselves rightfully with guns and force.
And I said, that's what we need to do, like the Black Panthers in the Puerto Rican community.
People call me Bobby Lee, Bob Lee, but my birth name is Robert E. Lee Jr. III. In the Black community, it's like naming a Jewish kid Adolf Hitler. You're gonna have a lot of fights. I was born in Houston, Fifth Ward. You were told how not to stare at white people, get off and get over when you saw them coming down the street. You were aware that when you left home, you left your community, you could be killed, you could be beaten. Right in Chicago.
Now, that was Bobby Lee, the famous Bobby Lee that's in the video I've played many times. Let me see if there's a shot of his face directly. But yeah, that's the same guy you see in the beret. I think, yeah, he was in the introduction. They showed him in the beret talking, and he's going to be in the meeting. So this guy here, I want you to remember this OG, that's how we'll call him. He's going to be Bobby Lee, the lead organizer in the video of the meeting we're going to show, the actual meeting. Somebody actually recorded it. So this is the guy when we see the younger version of him. Just want you to know that. All right, so there we go.
In the Black community, it's like naming a Jewish kid Adolf Hitler. You're gonna have a lot of fights. I was born in Houston, Fifth Ward. You were told how not to stare at white people, get off and get over when you saw them coming down the street. You were aware that when you left home, you left your community, you could be killed, you could be beaten. Right in Chicago. No, Chicago wasn't no different. It was segregated.
I'm from a small town in Tennessee, eastern Tennessee. And people ask me why I got into the revolutionary politics, and it's because of poverty. I started to work in the field with my family when I was about 3 years old. We were very poor. We would pool our money together, and that's how we would eat in the evening. So I came when I was 17 years old, looking for a better job, better life into the uptown community.
Chicago was a really important migrant destination. It was attracting a lot of Southern African Americans, Southern whites, and Puerto Ricans from the island. There was this perception that
So I thought of it when somebody asked or brought up the topic of how do we unite with Trump supporters. I bet the same question came up with this coalition. How do we unite with racist Confederate flag wearing or using people? And in this documentary, they talk about that. They talk about how some Black Panthers, when they got there and they saw Confederate flags, they said, and they left. And then some stayed. Bobby Lee from that stayed. So yeah, I'll talk more once we get to that part.
there were really good wages to be had in Chicago. They were encountering a white ethnic population that had already been settled there for many decades.
We were from Puerto Rico, and we settled on the northern part of downtown. Lincoln Park became about 40% Latino. Everybody was neighbors, everybody was family.
If you were Puerto Rican and you went into an Italian or Irish neighborhood, you can get killed. So there were certain boundaries that we knew, the whole community knew, that they couldn't go there. We don't allow Puerto Ricans in this restaurant. You can't be in this beach. The Young Lords, that's how we began, fighting for our people, a nationality gang. And the Young Lords went looking for the fight. We went to Benny's Pizzeria and demanded to be served, or going to the beach and cracking open heads with beer bottles, just so that we can go to the beach. And then there was West Side Story, the first movie about Puerto Ricans. And so all the Young Lords
Puerto Ricans
went to the Biograph Theater, and that's where we got our colors, the Puerto Rican gang in the movie. Everybody went and used red dye and had their shirts purple, and that became our colors.
When I went to Chicago, I noticed everything was segregated. Everybody was with their own kind. You didn't go into their community. They don't come into your community. And that's the way it was in Uptown because it was Southern white. Well, the Uptown area was a slum. It was a ghetto.
So the first one, the effective tactic of divide and conquer is separating communities so you can give them a depiction of the other. They're only living around. So we live in these segregated communities. And then we're pumped in these informations as propaganda about the other to make us afraid. So I noticed that in what they're speaking here, nobody goes to Uptown, and you can't go to Lincoln, you can't go to the South Side, or it was dangerous. Sort of similar how I guess West Side Story is what I've heard. I've never seen all of it. I've seen like parts and stuff. So yeah, let's listen.
A series of articles came out classifying us as a very dangerous population. We were incestuous, we were violent, ignorant, racist. And that was the first time I had ever been called white trash, was when I came to Chicago. Initially, we had gotten together a street gang, young guys who were hustling like anybody. You could not get a job. I had to go in and literally sell blood just to survive. Students for a Democratic Society came into the community, and they formed a joint Jobs Our Income Now.
That's Harry Belafonte right there. Harry Belafonte, if I say it right. I think that's how you say it.
They were talking about the civil rights movement. So we started getting a political ideology.
Trying to help the people in the neighborhood with the landlords. It sounded better to me than what I was doing. I mean, I wasn't doing nothing. I was a kid running the street.
I want to show you what has happened to the neighborhoods surrounding the Negro community.
Wow, that's a good spot to pause it on. And this question will be answered. What happened after Hampton, and that's Fred Hampton, was killed? How did the Rainbow Coalition end? This question will be answered in this documentary. So let's watch.
This is the Negro community as it existed in 1950. Now, the green color is the Negro community as it existed in 1960. It doubled its size. This area cannot take any Negroes because it will be inundated and never integrated. We're not going to take it.
when you looked at a map that showed the south side and the west side joining in a gigantic L.
You see that? South side, west side, and then uptown. So keeping us segregated is absolutely key to being able to sell propaganda about somebody else. Just imagine how people would not fall for this Ukraine garbage that the United States is trying to play if there were Russians that lived around here. Everywhere. We were integrated. You get what I'm saying? Imagine what type of, I don't even know what sort of city. Now, the KKK was birthed out of a city in Tennessee. Imagine if that city had all types of ethnicities. The point that I'm making is separating us is key to being able to sell propaganda, because then people don't have anything to go off of except for what you're telling them. They don't have personal experiences. So this sort of separation that we see in this map, and thank you, Stomps Lakoti, I think that's how you say it. Thank you, brand new, for welcome aboard. I forget my train of thought, but let's continue.
That is the largest contiguous area of 90 or more % Black population in the world outside of Africa. The segregation in Chicago was locked in. Mayor Daley had used virtually every instrument of government to keep it segregated.
Daley, who served as mayor from 1955 to 1976, was at his peak the most powerful, the most influential urban figure in America.
From the Cook County Democratic Party down to the precinct captains, it was a well-oiled machine, the Democratic political machine.
Chicago was known for a long, long time as one of the most segregated cities in America. What Daley did is not to challenge that on any level. And that was very important for him politically, because so much of his base were extremely resistant to the idea of blacks moving into their neighborhoods. And Daley served their interests.
Now is the time to get rid of the slums and ghettos of Chicago. Now is the time. We must realize that there must be alliances now between Negroes and white people of goodwill. Get rid of poverty that inculcates so much of our nation.
This, to me, and a lot of say, this in the organizing around this concept of sort of a rainbow coalition that Martin or Dr. King speaks about right here, and what the documentary is about, and what Fred Hampton was doing with the Rainbow Coalition. These are the reasons, in my estimation, largely the reason they ordered. Martin Luther King organized labor, but it wasn't just labor, it was Rainbow Coalition style labor. And that's a working formula, and we can't have you do that, sir. So let's get back to the, before I go off on a tangent, let's get back. Now I'm gonna rewind it 30 seconds here.
That was very important for him politically, because so much of his base were extremely resistant to the idea of blacks moving into their neighborhoods, and Daley served their interests.
Now is the time to get rid of the slums and ghettos of Chicago. Now is the time. We must realize that there must be alliances now between Negroes and white people of goodwill. Get rid of poverty that inculcates so much of our nation.
I've been in many demonstrations all across the South,
But I can say that I have never seen, even in Mississippi and Alabama, mobs as hostile and as hate-filled as I've seen in Chicago.
You feel you're in a closed society, Dr. King, here in Southwest side?
Martin Luther King said, he's like, hey man, I done been to down in the damn jungles of fucking Alabama. But he's like, I ain't never seen nobody like the shit that's going down here in Chicago. So let's listen to him say that again. All right. I went back too far. Let's go back up a little bit right here.
I've been in many demonstrations all across the South, but I can say that I have never seen, even in Mississippi and Alabama, mobs as hostile and as hate-filled as I've seen in Chicago.
You feel you're in a closed society, Dr. King, here in Southwest side?
Oh, yes, it's definitely a closed society, and we're going to make it an open society.
The white flight went to the suburbs to flee minorities coming into the communities. And Mayor Daley wanted to bring them back into the city. Urban renewal was a racist plan and supported by the federal government with funds.
I would hope that tomorrow every slum building in Chicago would be demolished and we'd have a decent home for every family. This is the aim of the present administration, and we're going to go through with it.
We were just talking on the street corner and at the bars about how the neighborhood was changing in that. And then we found out about a meeting at the Community Conservation Council.
We walked in there was a model display. There's areas that are vacant, and these were Puerto Rican areas. And we saw nothing but 12 white men there directing the meeting, so we told them, no more meetings here unless you have Black, Latino, and poor white representation on your council. And they looked at us like we were crazy. So to prove our point, we picked up chairs and started throwing them around, tore up all the plumbing, trashed the entire place. We shut down the Department of Urban Renewal for about 3 months. That was a victory.
I come from a...
Should I address this or not here? You know, when Rome says we need the guys out in prison because we need revolutionaries, and that's what these were former gang members turned revolutionaries. We need these because these are the people that's going to do the gritty shit. Just like what just happened in this example. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to be more explicit than that. And that's for, you already know the policy on here. Well, let's continue.
The people in the neighborhood that never worried about checks.
I got to see that part again, though. So let's hear him describe that victory he had.
We found out about a meeting at the Community Conservation Council.
We walked in there was a model display. There's areas that are vacant, and these were Puerto Rican areas. And we saw nothing but 12 white men there directing the meeting, so we told them, no more meetings here unless you have Black, Latino, and poor white representation on your council. And they looked at us like we were crazy. So to prove our point, we picked up chairs and started throwing them around, tore up all the plumbing, trashed the entire place. We shut down the Department of Urban Renewal for about 3 months. That was a victory.
I come from a people in the neighborhood that never worried about checks from anyone. And as far as I'm concerned, there'll be law and order in this town as long as I'm mayor.
What were you doing when this rookie cop hit you? I wasn't doing anything.
Police brutality. Police everywhere aggravating everybody. And just any reason to get us in that police station. And they had a bench with the handcuff on the side so they can cuff you. and beat the shit out of you with a phone book or whatever they wanted to hit you with, as long as they didn't leave any mark.
I thought this was the heyday of the police. What? This sounds like this just happened yesterday. So you mean to tell me 40, you talk about 50, 60 years go by and the police had the same problem? But we're going to do some more reforming. That'll fix it. This happened in 60s, 70s. Yes, 50 to 60 years you're talking about. And then I bet at that time, people were talking about the police was just reformed when they were complaining about it.
Mark.
They were free to do their own activities, whatever they want, to treat people any way they wanted to treat them. And we knew that we could either give up or we could fight. So we decided we'd fight.
You would get beat up before you even walked into jail. I just got beat up, that was it. And I had to accept it. Who do I complain to?
When King was killed, all of us was affected. Rage, anger.
Shoot to kill any arsonist or anyone with a Molotov cocktail in their hand in Chicago.
Daley showed his power through the use of his police during the Democratic Convention in 1968. That was Daley.
No one lost their lives in Chicago. And all I did was what I thought was my duty under the...
Let me just answer this question. The name of it is the First Rainbow Coalition. The link I just 10 seconds ago put it in the description. Again, this is just a random person who put it on. It was very hard for me to find this. Find it for free. Like if you Google it or search for it, whatever search engine you use, what comes, but you will find it, but it's a link to you paying for it, and I think it's like $350 or $100, $350 or $400 is the lowest I saw. But this person looks like they dubbed it or it from TV, and then you see how the top part is cut off. They cut off what it probably says whoever produced this. I think this is from PBS, maybe. Cut that and then uploaded it themselves, but it doesn't even have like 500 views if you go to that link. So I had to watch it to make sure it was the actual footage. So yeah, all of that you can find in the description box.
The Constitution and under my oath of office, I've never tolerated brutality.
The Democratic Convention, we had seen the hippies being beat in Lincoln Park. We could relate to that. What was going on in the Vietnam War, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X being killed, our families being evicted from their homes, all that affected us and awakened us. The young ones started transforming themselves from a gang into a human rights movement.
And this is what Nick or Rome and I have spoke about in the past. Like we need to speak and reach out to gangs and turn gangs into the revolutionary people, because they have the stomach for a real revolution is sort of how the conversation went with Rome and I. And this is an example. This was a street gang who said our battles with other street gangs takes back seat to all the shit and all the crumbling of the empire that's happening around them at that time. And I'm saying at this time, 2023, we're sort of in a same sort of mirroring of a moment here. So yeah, let's get back to Dot.
The mission was self-determination for Puerto Rico. That meant that we were powerful as a people, as a nation, to promote a sense of pride for being Puerto Rican. And we wanted neighborhood empowerment.
What we have to do now is pull ourselves together into a functioning group of people who can go out and rebel against them. See, one of the things that's good about the young patriots is they're all interested in the problems they got here. You know, and they want to change them.
We're going to be patriotic to the community, not necessarily patriotic to the system. That's our way of being patriotic. If we're going to try to help our community, then we are patriots.
I'm the deputy chairman of the state of Illinois Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton. We're not a racist organization because we understand that racism is an excuse used for capitalism. It's a byproduct of capitalism.
Fred was such a powerful speaker that, once people heard Fred speak, they were just, drawn. We want freedom. We want the power to determine our own destiny. That's the first point. We want true education, decent housing. We want people to have fair trials with a jury of their peers. We want an end to police brutality. Pretty much the same things that ring true now, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
In the state of Illinois.
Same things that ring true now, but in the ruling class want to convince us, oh, we're just going to do some reforms again. That 10-point plan that they just made and scrolled up like Star Wars scroll up, that literally could be the 10 points or points for today's plan.
You don't have to be involved or even around the revolution because we can have one.
For all of us in the party, Fred Hampton was someone we all respected.
The Black Panther Party this time is a political self-defense, military, armed political unit. That's the definition of the Black Panther Party.
You could touch Fred. He was a servant leader, read a lot. And I was very impressed.
There's no educational program here? No.
Fred came to me as his field secretary. He said, well, Lee, you handle North Side.
North Side is uptown where the white folks are.
Bob Lee said, hey, man, I want you to take a ride with me tonight. We got to go to this place called Uptown. I need you to be my security man.
They were poor, man.
These lines, Uptown, South, these are same lines even today. My barber is from Chicago. Oh, South Side, same lines, he tells me. Same exact lines, they're still drawn today. That's so important in being able for divide and conquer to work, because if you don't live around the people to have your own personal experience to say, these people are trying to tell me some bullshit, then you believe the bullshit.
I'm talking about sound. You could smell it. See, you could smell a smell.
We all went to this community meeting with the Join organization.
Hands are here.
This is the video that if you follow me, and we've opened videos many a times, and it's usually around this time when that clip starts. So just shouting out that part.
Hands are here.
Remember the older OG? Here he is as a young man.
Okay. We come here with our hearts open. You got to supervise us where we can be of help to you. What do you want in your community? What do you want here? Are you afraid of pain? You want to take berets off, man, or what, man?
There were a lot of suspicions about the Black Panthers, that they were gun-carrying terrorists.
It was a scenario that I had never been in before. I see some guys with Confederate flag patches I was a little concerned.
The thing we got to deal with is concept of poverty, man. We got to reach the color thing. See,
building's not fit for dogs to live in, but humans having to pay $144 a month for the thing. They sell the building to new ownership. What we need is understanding among the people, coalition between the people to stick together and take them owners and put them over here in the lake somewhere.
Right on. Once you realize, man, that your house is funky with rats and roaches, same way a black dude's house is, once you realize that your brother's been brutalized by the cops, the same way the west side and south side is, once you realize that you are paying taxes for the cops to whoop your ass, you're paying them, and you're paying them to kill you. You deal from there. The same thing's happening on the south
Bob
side.
Lee turned out to be quite an organizer. And he says, yeah, my name is Bobby Lee, but my real name is Robert E. Lee. And we all laughed. He said, you got to be kidding me.
Who's here that want to see this thing move?
Yeah, man.
Right on. Well, the first thing we talk about now is how we're going to organize,
How we going to organize? That's the first thing we're going to talk about. Now, this is where we're going to cut in, because we have the actual footage of this very meeting right here. And let's do that now. Let me see which tab it is. Is it this one? Yes, this one here. Okay, so let me stop sharing that one. We're going to come back there to that video. But I want to play that actual meeting and listen in to what actually they talked about and how it went. Let's listen.
We have to wear. Yeah, those guys were incredible when they start moving people out. Their homes. It's they want to move them into some other place, and they were saying like where they move into. They probably move them out of Chicago or in some other community. I'm from Missouri.
This is poor people's power. And that's what this little hand-painted button's all about that we've been passing around to people. People that want to take over and have a government for themselves, that they'll be treated right. That's what it's all about. I want to introduce a man to come over tonight from another part of town, but he's fighting for some of the same causes we're fighting for, and start the meeting off. So I'm going to introduce you to Bob Lee here and let him rap a little while. Bob.
I'm a Black Panther. I'm a section leader of the Black Panthers. This is Parley. He's a security man. This is Sister Ruby. We met with Junebug and his brothers last Wednesday night, last week, at the Church of Three Crosses, where we both had a chance to rap, get together.
You notice they say rap means talk, which is actually where the word, what we call rapping now, which just should mean just talking over the beat. But rapping just used to mean talking. Funny how things evolve.
Panthers are here. Panthers are here. For uptown. Okay? For anyone who lives in uptown. With brown, green, yellow, purple, or pink. But I'm saying Panthers are here, and you have to tell us what we can do and what we can do together. We come here with our hearts open. You guys supervise us where we can be of help to you.
One thing we're going to have to do is put our heads together and figure out where we can help uptown, help the people in uptown.
Right.
And the thing is that I want everybody who's got any questions at all to speak them up and say them now.
Who's here is concerned people? Who's here that want to see this thing move?
Yeah, man.
Right on. Well, the first thing we talk about now is how we're going to organize. Where we're going to organize. We always right now, man, figure out like what we want. What do we want? What do you want? What do you want, man? What do you want in your community? What do you want here? Look here, man. Don't lay back on the cuts, man. And, we're not moving, man.
Are you afraid of you want to take berets off, man, or what, man?
You propose that you do a lot of marching and things like
No,
that?
sir. No, sir.
Marches seem to do more harm than do good.
No, sir. No marching. No, sir. The thing we're about is that this is your community. This is your community.
You notice the question was, if you didn't hear it, do you reckon you're gonna be doing a lot of marching? He's like, oh no, sir. No, sir. Marching? No. This is the wrong organization for that. We will be doing no marching, sir. Love it.
Community. Let's move. You know, and we can't move without you. We can't move. We can't move without you.
Like on the west side and south side, you have a basic unity to start with.
For the skin color.
Right.
Okay. But damn, the thing we got to deal with is concept of poverty, man. We got to erase the color thing. See? I mean, concept of the same thing that's welfare up here, people on welfare up here, that people receive ADC, you know, that's police brutality up here, that's rats and roaches, that's poverty up here. That's the first thing that we can unite on. That's the common thing we have, man. If we can unite on poverty, and unite on the concept of poverty, you know, everything becomes colored, man. Right on.
The building's not fit for dogs to live in, but humans having to pay $144 a month, right? They sold the building, you know, to new ownership. What we need is understanding among the people.
Right on.
Coalition between the people to stick together.
Right on.
And take them owners and put them over here in the lake somewhere.
Right on. Right on. This man right here. You know, the things he said, these are the things we can start working on. We can start working on those very things. Getting rid of the Urban Progress Center. Get the cats gonna get themselves together. Get rid of these little junkie employment agencies. Cats. I mean, these are things you can start working from, man. These are things you can start working from. Ladies, stand up and tell us some of the hell you've been going.
Why I wanted to play this, and I'm sure it's edited together, you know, even though it's long, but it's still edited together, is to show when we tell the story of the Black Panthers and young Patriots, young Lords, like it's a fantasy, like, oh, they just came together. No. It's late night talks for hours after you just had a long day of work. Meeting people over and over to gain the trust that you're really here to help. This is what we call the boutique left, the NATO left, wants to avoid is this work. You're meeting, you know, once a week with your own organization and meeting once a month with all the rainbow, with all the coalition parties, everybody who says, I want a revolution in each community. And this is the reason Fred Hampton was taken out.
Going through. I did something.
Show my granddaughter, Marcella. She wants to be free. Tell them what they're doing to Eddie out there when we come out and how they talk to your mother and how they jumped on us down. Come on, don't be bashful. I talk too much. You all got to talk. Now's the time to talk.
You don't want your kid to be raised up the jive you're coming through now. You don't want to do.
I think so.
You got to do something. You can't have only one or two leaders.
Please, shut up. Just stand up.
You got to have the people doing something.
Can you do it?
Come on.
You see, it's not as easy. People are reticent. You think, oh, this first meeting, now everything's good. No, it's just the first one. It takes work, and it's going to take work. Oops. All right, so let's get back.
My sister-in-law, she came out and said that the cops were out there fritzing my brother, and we went out there, and there was one of those cops were sticking a knife in my brother behind, just sickening. I went up and I asked him what he was doing. He said it's none of your business. He told me to get out of there. Asked me who I was, and I said I was his sister. And he told me to get the hell out of there.
Well, she was cussing the cops out like mad. Call up the police when nothing's going on, and the police are going to come and make it happen.
They try to put your words in your mouth, make you put yourself in jail.
But I want you people to stick together, and I'll stick with Black Panthers, they'll stick with me, and I know they will. We're going to do it our own way, and that's all there is to it.
Right on, your own way.
I saw a Black Panthers movie last week. That points are real good, man. You got to pick up the gun, that's all.
Right on. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of them coming down the street and kicking my damn head in for them. Nothing I ain't done. Bobby Hutton gave his life, man. The cat was 18 years old. He gave his life. And from that day on, Panthers moved up for the black community are concerned. From that day on, Panthers moved up because black communities knew and felt what Huey was saying, but Huey went out and did for the people what the people wanted to do for the last 15, 20 years. He did to the pig what Roger would like to do. Nobody's saying this. Hey, we're not saying go out and off the pig, go out and start shooting a pig. You know, but this way Huey did it. If it comes to that, I'm sure that one of these brothers are capable of doing it. We're going to stop this shit one way or the other. We have to fight with guns. Before you can do that, got to be some discipline. I'm reacting to what you want to do. Okay. The first thing is discipline, man, before you can even control the pig, or you're off you, man. From here, you start out going into the community, so the community know, man, what you're doing. Because see, if the pig off you, Roger, and you be going to funeral, man, you've been in the casket, and the people in the community don't even know you're dead. You got to have the community back. The pigs, the police are protecting the landlords. If Roger run out with a Molotov cocktail to throw in one of these rat-infested buildings, they kill him. They kill him. They kill him. Somebody answer why? Why the man come down on us like that? Why?
Anything about protecting people, they're about protecting property.
Right. Right. You been to jail before, baby? You been to jail? Right on. So I tell you nothing but the pig. Once you realize, man, that your house is funky with rats and roaches, you know, same way a black dude's house is, you know, once you realize that your brother's been brutalized by the cops, the same way the west side and south side is, you know, once you realize, man, that you're getting inadequate, man, education in these high schools and junior high schools over here, the same way the south side and the west side, you know, once you realize that you are paying taxes for the cops to whoop your ass, you're paying them. You're paying them, man, for to whoop your ass. You're paying them to come in to beat your children. You're paying them to run you off the corner. And you're paying them to kill you. And deal from there. The same thing's happening on the south side and the west side. If you can realize that concept of poverty, a revolution can begin.
Now, Wednesday, model cities is meeting, and they're going to put through some kind of program, and, you know, we're all going to get run out of here eventually. Now, I put a proposal together that people that want to be together, people listening to this stuff and digging it, and people that's got it in their hearts that want to be together, be up here Wednesday. We go down and we stop that meeting.
All through the city, there's $38 million supposed to be split up to bring poor people out of poverty. What the hell have they bought? What have they done? Not a damn thing. These goddamn people that own businesses here in Uptown are sitting down, and we can't sit on those consoles. We can't tell where the money ought to go. Damn it, we ought to go down there and stop them and piss on the money and do the neighborhood right. If we can't do it, they ought to do it.
Wednesday will be for confronting the model city.
And you better be together, because the pigs are in here right now, and they know what we're going to do, Dad. When you do it right, but don't do it at all. We done something with trouble. Yep.
You notice he said the pigs are here right now, and they know what we're going to do. So that, to me, unless I'm missing a cop in a cop uniform in this video, that to me is saying he knows that there's an infiltrator, a undercover person from the government here trying to blend in, listening to everything. But if the plan is done well, and you also heard him say that part, and I said this too. It's kind of, this is the analogy I'll use. It's like, can you stop LeBron if he told you exactly the move he's going to do? You're on a basketball court with LeBron. LeBron James could literally tell you, I'm going to take 3 steps to the right, then spin around, step on my left leg, go off my left leg, and put the ball up. He's going to tell you that. You can't stop him if he does it right. Doesn't matter if you infiltrate his plan. You can't stop LeBron. One-on-one. Same concept. If there's, hundreds of million people against a million people, does it really matter if they know what our plan is? Doesn't really matter. This is the reason why they can't let us unite, because they know that fact. This is the reason why it's so important to keep us apart. To be labeled G-Hive or H-Hive and Trump supporters. Let's continue.
Now we're trying to get our floor. We'll get over there. Wow.
Look at yourself. I'll see you Monday night. Look at yourself. I'll see you Monday night. It takes time.
Now, you heard him say, I see you Monday night. I see you Monday night. Again, just the beginning. It takes work. So I'm going to now, there's more of this raw footage of different things. But I'm going to go back to the documentary and pick back up where we left off with the documentary. Again, it's called The First Rainbow Coalition. The link to this video is in the description box.
And, we're all going to get run out of here eventually.
That was a good meeting. It was. It got everybody riled up. It was a good start to a coalition.
We worked very, very hard in the Uptown community. It was 2 weeks. We went there every day, every night.
Oh, wow. Every day.
Here's a white community asking for help from the Black Panther Party, man. I knew that this was serious.
We went to the 18th District Police Station as a community. We locked the doors, we pushed them to the side, and we spoke. Just, it was a non-violent takeover of the police workshop meeting. The very next day, it came out in the news, and that's when we met Fred Hampton. We were talking about how we can work together. Then they told us about the Young Patriots on the north side.
We said that we would work with anybody and form coalition with anybody that has revolution on their mind.
We called a coalition meeting. To bring them all in.
So, you kind of saw separately what the Young Lords transition from gang members to revolutionary, and they were really radical, taking over shit. You saw that. And you saw the beginnings of a coalition building with the Young Patriots in Chicago and Uptown, and the Black Panthers. And then you see what the Young Lords do, gets them on the news. The Black Panthers, Fred Hampton sees it, and this brings in the Young Lords into this conversation, or to this coalition.
All together. It came together, man. We all sit together, boys. You look good, boy.
This here is the Rainbow Coalition button, and there's white, brown, yellow, red, and black. Didn't matter what color you wore this with pride.
The Rainbow Coalition was about uniting communities so that we can make revolutionary change. Our communities were all struggling for the same cause. In unity, there was force.
urban Southern whites with Puerto Ricans and blacks. I don't think there had ever been anything that substantial in any urban environment. What was going on in your neighborhood? The same thing was going on in my neighborhood, you know? And how are you going to change that? You ain't going to change it by hating the people in the other neighborhood. But the fastest way to change that was for those neighborhoods to come together. Housing issues, police brutality, just being fed up. That's what we could all agree on.
The Panther Party in Chicago, they're not only organizing the young lords, they're creating coalitions with another vanguard revolutionary group called the Young Patriots. Poor white people have begun to relate to the 10-point platform and program of the Black Panther Party. The young Appalachian white people.
That flag meant blood and murder. Who the fuck wanted to be around that flag, man? Let's be realistic now.
I just want to deal with black and black liberation. Everybody gets uptight when a few hunkies get their heads beat. What did they do when we was getting our heads beat?
So you got some pals couldn't handle it, man. They couldn't handle it. They left.
We always had the flag. We were brought up with the Confederate flag.
So this is what I alluded to earlier. Because there's a retelling of this story that it wasn't around. That they had already deprogrammed themselves, got rid of the Confederate flag, got rid of all of that stuff before the coalition. It's people. This ridiculous conversations that people who aren't going to do any revolution like to have with each other. You want to reunite with racists? Those people. This is the evidence right here. And there was Panthers who wasn't down with this in the beginning. Now they eventually denounced the Confederate flag and you know and took it down everywhere. But I'm just saying, in the beginning, that was not the case. So if you hear revisionist history with this point, somehow they were already at that point. The evidence is in front of your face by the people who wore these things in the video. I think his name is Hyman. He's one of the founders of the Young Patriots. This is an actual photo of one of the meetings.
We were trying to confront people on their racism, you know, wear the flag with the Black Power or Free Huey, and it would spark up conversations.
Yeah, and people want to act like Trump supporters are a problem. So that's, I mean, so to me, it's a silly question. Are you going to unite with Trump supporters? Good. You just told me how unserious you are about a real revolution. That literally is a red flag. Like, if you say that, not as you saying it as a, I can't even describe what would be a legitimate way, but that to me is an indication that you're not serious. That you're a divide and conquer agent, in my opinion. At least whether you know it or not. Like, you can unknowingly be doing that because you believe that propaganda.
The contradiction makes people think. Fred Hampton understood.
So let me rewind a little bit here.
When a few hunkies get their heads beat. What did they do when we was getting our heads beat?
So you got some pals couldn't handle it, man. They couldn't handle it. They left.
We always had the flag. We were brought up with the Confederate flag. We were trying to confront people on their racism, you know, wear the flag with the Black Power or Free Huey, and it would spark up conversations. The contradiction makes people think. Fred Hampton understood what we were trying to do, And therefore, he welcomed it into the Rainbow Coalition and allowed us to even go to rallies wearing that flag.
If you go,
Did everybody hear that? Fred Hampton understood the bigger picture, is how I'm going to describe it. And the co-founder of the Young Patriots right here just said Fred Hampton even allowed them to bring it to meetings. But we want to talk about some Trump supporters as being a dividing line. Just not serious to me.
you go organize with folks, you first respect the top value.
We started going around with him. He took us under his wing and basically helped us, guided us.
We say to Pig, Daly, Hammerhead, Hannaran, Pig Collins, and the rest, no more brothers will be taken from us without cause.
Class consciousness cuts across all kinds of strata.
This is what most people today don't understand and don't get. It's always class but. That's what it's always. It's always class but. It's a little frustrating.
For poor white people to be working with poor black people was unheard of.
Black people and white poor people and red poor people and Puerto Rican poor people and Latin American Puerto Rican people of poor people of all descents, they had them caught up in movements based on racism when the Black Panthers stood up and said that we don't care what anybody says, we're going to fight racism, not racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity.
This was during the peak of the Black Power era. The revolutionary struggle that we were envisioning was to eliminate racism. And in order to eliminate racism, you couldn't practice racism.
We came together as true brothers and sisters to stand up together.
The motto of the Black Panther Party was all power to all the people. Not all power to some of the people, all the people.
Come on in, sister, y'all can sit down. Children were going to school hungry, and there were no federal programs for that. And the Black Panther Party was the first group I saw that was talking about taking control of your own destiny. Instead of just asking people for something, it was like, okay, if our kids are starving, then let's give them breakfast. We got the free breakfast program.
They showed us the importance of programs. We set up a free breakfast for children program, a free health clinic and dental clinic, a free clothing program, a food pantry, something that the government, Mayor Daley, was not doing.
We got the free health clinic.
We started working with the coalition and were able to get resources from that to set up a free health clinic.
We're feeding 3,000 to 4,000 every week already, and I don't know how many all around the country. We're out there every day and educating. People learn by example. I don't think anybody has an argument with that. And I think the Black Panther Party is doing that.
It was not a disciplined organization, but more of a symbolic mass movement that was trying to bring in more and more people into the coalition.
The idea of the Rainbow Coalition made a lot of sense to us, and we promoted that. We taught about Fred Hampton a lot.
These experiments were happening all over the country. In Chicago, there was another organization called Rising Up Angry. They organized all over Chicago. And there were Rainbow Coalitions, small r and small c Rainbow Coalitions all over the place that included groups like the American Indian Movement, like the Brown Berets.
As we worked together, we thought, well, we're really a lot stronger if we do this together. And it made us think that if we really want to change society, we all had to come together and support each other's struggles.
It just felt natural that you would struggle with other people who have been marginalized and who have been held down and who have been.
So in this short little maybe 30-second section here, somebody earlier mentioned uniting. This is what they're talking about. Struggle is the solidarity. It's different than uniting, because is the professional managerial class showing solidarity with black folks, with poor folks, with the working class? Are they struggling with us through police brutality? Or are they on the other side wanting to keep in place the status quo? Uniting is what people who are left do by joining the Democratic Party. Remember, I said uniting is concession. AOC, the squad, is uniting with the Democratic Party and an imperialist capitalist party. And what are their concessions? Giving up their progressive beliefs. That's uniting. Solidarity is what these people in this documentary are doing. Is coming and struggling with them, fighting the same battles for their community. Not the same thing. So uniting is what you do when you join the Democrats. Solidarity is what you do when you join a revolution.
Press.
Did you not see the Confederate flag with a black hand on it? Do you not see that? But we got people that want to act like, I'm just amazed how, I mean, how much clearer can you get that the use of the Confederate flag was prevalent, was around when this coalition between young Patriots and Black Panthers and young Lords. I don't know too many. You know what? Let's just keep going. Let's go.
Whether you're from the south, north, east, or west, whether you're a Negro, hillbilly, or Yankee, we're going to stand here and fight together. Mr. Daley can take his money and his machine. His uptown can take his money and his machine and go straight to H.E. you know where with it.
There's been trouble, and there's going to be more trouble. We're going to continue to have more trouble. You see, people are learning to struggle together. People are learning to fight together. And I don't think that's trouble, you know. I think that's self-defense, you know. I think we're defending ourselves, you know. I think the trouble has already come when urban removal came to this neighborhood.
The Black Panther, we're going to run this black community. We're not going to compromise.
There was this sense of solidarity internationally. These are communities who are struggling for very much of the same goals into oppression.
And we were connected to the world and uniting with all these struggles. That was the beauty of it. The world was on fire and we were part of that flame.
It appeared to me they wanted the white community to think that they could be violent if they had to on behalf of their people, so don't mess with our people. They were meant to scare the police, but it was turned against them. It played right into the hands of Daley to say, you see how these violent people are?
We're talking about revolution. People get hung on.
This was a complete challenge to the structure. You know, it wasn't saying let us in. That was not, you know, that was not the position of the Rainbow Coalition. We didn't want in, so he didn't have a handle on us.
Every meeting that's been held in Thresholds Hall has been observed.
when did the young Patriots drop the Confederate flag? What year? I would suggest Googling that.
Observed by the Red Squad and photographed because I've watched it. I want to know what the purpose of this is. The Red Squad, they take your pictures just as these people are taking my picture here.
The Red Squad. Their purpose was to identify and observe and even arrest people that were considered to be communist or socialist or on the red side.
They tried to.
The Red Squad.
Discredit us. You know, these guys are criminals. They're being arrested. So that's the image that people would get in the community.
Police department's gang intelligence unit. The unit that I was in formed a Panther squad. We were at this particular rally. Some kind of way the grumbling was, there's a lot of pigs in here, you know? So from the front of the room, Fred Hampton said, will the pigs please leave? So about 6 people got up and we all kind of eyeballed each other. We were in there scattered out. Then we started to talk amongst ourselves what this mindset was and how threatening was it really to just everyday police work. And it wasn't. It was a threat to misconduct. It really was.
Counterintelligence program. It was spying on groups to disrupt forces that we found objectionable. That's what we did. The good word is neutralize. Black Panthers, all these groups, they were the enemy. There was a mindset we were going to lose the country. It's us versus them. And we worked with the police, but we all generally thought the same way.
There's been a glorification of this gang structure, and that's why it's so serious today. Here's the state's attorney.
What about that?
Rand was very tight with Mayor Daley. He was one of his cronies. He wanted to destroy us. He declared a war on gangs.
They are brutalizing their own neighbors.
They were not criminals, even though the Chicago Police Department lumped them together with street gangs. It allowed the police department to chase them as if they were gang members.
Reverend Johnson has made an offer about the first.
Reverend Bruce Johnson was the pastor of the church that became the headquarters of the Young Lords.
We do not consider it a youth gang. We consider it a viable community organization.
We began working immediately with the church.
We're already begun taking an application for the Children's Center.
Now the city of Chicago began attacking the Reverend like they were attacking.
Wow.
And they began fining him $200 a day every day that the youngers remained at the church. All we wanted was to get some help for our community.
In the gang intelligence unit, our unit, this is all gang crime stuff. They went in where the people were doing breakfast programs, busted eggs out of the refrigerator on the walls.
This is a police officer, if you didn't know. He's one of the police officers that's in the unit that's going in to do these things.
They poured flour and bust eggs in the flour. They unnecessarily set back something that was a legitimate breakfast program. But that dry run, they were so frustrated because of who they were looking for was not there that day. And that was the day I decided that I didn't want to be in that unit anymore.
The reason why we haven't been able to open the daycare center is because the city has found ridiculous violations in the buildings, such as the floor is too low, the ceiling is too high.
They knew that we were going to begin to get a lot more support from the community. And the only way that they could stop us was by using bureaucracy.
I think that they should also look around in some of those apartments where the children will have to stay, where they are getting lead poisoning,
and not in a church where we are trying to take care of them.
It turned out to be a very powerful coalition. It was kind of making them look bad.
We hear constantly the attack on the establishment as though it is some invisible force that does nothing good for the community and for the country. I have no apology to make to anyone for our country.
To a great extent, I think Daley was simply unable to understand a lot of the societal changes at that time. Perplexed, frustrated, he fell back on repression.
This three-day conference may well be the turning point for what has up to this point been an increasing but loosely organized revolutionary phenomenon that will probably streamline and solidify what is now called the movement.
Now, we come from Chi-Town. We come from a monster. We come from a monster. And the jaws of the monster in Chicago are grinding up the flesh and spitting out the blood. The poor and oppressed people, blacks, the South Side, the West Side, and the Browns on the North Side, the Reds and the Yellows, and yes, the Whites. And we got together, the Young Lords and the Young Patriots and the Black Panther Party in Illinois, and we just said, now, what are we gonna do? We said, we're going to intensify the struggle, motherfucker.
I was in the hole in Double Lock, which is where they usually put me into the jail. The warden of the jail came and he took me to his apartment and he put the TV on.
This being the first Sunday since the Reverend and Mrs. Bruce Johnson were murdered.
He was stabbed 17 times and his wife 9.
They killed a reverend. Killed a reverend. But we're going to vote these types of people out of power. That's what's going to happen.
9 times. Because he wanted to work with the Young Lords. I believe that's why he was killed.
We're praying that Henry leads the charge.
Before a raid, the police would hit the field, start arresting people. Your postman's face would change. You knew they were coming. I would be lying if I said that we wasn't afraid.
Fine, man, but I just wish they would come tonight. Yeah, well, I want them to come. I think, man, who was that?
We had 2 attacks on officers.
It wasn't raid at this time. Who was attacked, man? You can look at the windows, man.
Was there a fire in the...
They set a fire after they got through.
November, Spurgeon Drake Winters got into a shootout on the South Side with police, and he shot 2 police who died, and they shot him about 1,000 times. So when you have those type of dilemmas going on, it's difficult to have not only an organization, but a coalition, you know.
The police were harder on us when we were political and we were in a gang. If we were in a gang, we would be picked up on a Friday, released Monday. When we were political, they were talking about life in jail.
I think that the issue here is that judges and the state's attorney have been working with the GIU and everyone else to try to suppress the Young Lords organization who are trying to speak out. You know, we're a poor organization.
I had 18 charges on me. They were all felonies for mob action and other demonstrations. Basically lived at the courthouse.
and so did Chairman Fred Hampton and some of the other leadership.
And why they want to get rid of me? Because I'm saying something that might wake up some other exploited people and some other oppressed people. And if all these people ever get together, then these pigs are
18 charges, all felonies, is a classic case of overcharging, which they do all the time. You see that even in the Stop Cop City protests and the killing of the environmental activists. Just terrible.
they exploit us, we'll be able to run them into the lake. That's why they want to get rid of us.
We went to jail together. They put us in the same hole to segregate us from the rest of the population. They were afraid that we would organize the rest of the jail population.
I'm out on an appeal for trumped up robbery, and we got around 9 people still locked up in jail. Now, the question of nonviolence or violence, the question is between resistance to this fascism or either non-existence within fascism.
Now, we talk as if fascism started with Trump. Why is Fred Hampton referring to the United States and the legal system, the criminal justice system, where she's talking about right here, as fascism, if it wasn't happening? But we want to pretend like fascism just started with Trump in the Republican Party. Corporate power marrying state power. And the police being used to repress.
COINTELPRO, one of the aspects of that program was to prevent the rise of what they call a messiah.
When somebody's getting too big, too much influence, because that messiah can bring people together, to bring in a movement. So this is a key thing, and this is a key this is something that these agencies want to make sure doesn't happen. The rise of a messiah, like a MLK. Let's continue.
That could have the ability and charisma to bring together and to further empower groups.
We say all power to all people. We say white power to white people. Brown power to brown people. Yellow power to yellow people. Black power to black people. X power to bulls and be left out.
The 20-year-old chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton, was shot and killed in a pre-dawn shootout with state's attorney's police in his West Side apartment. Another party member, 22-year-old Mark Clark of Peoria, also died in the shootout.
Chicago Police, COINTELPRO, Red Squad, they were all collectively responsible for the murder of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark and the wounding of others.
Chicago Police took them out. If they didn't want you around, you weren't going to be around. And that's the way it worked back then. And it was scary. And I went home, got my gun out, and I sat there. And I sat there and waited. I didn't know what the next move was going to be. Nobody did.
When Fred Hampton was killed around 4 o'clock in the morning, they were calling us. That's when I found out about it. And we took a group to the apartment. People from all over the city came to be witnesses in case the police came back to remove any items.
Government couldn't make him and couldn't destroy him. They shot him and he multiplied.
I recall Jesse Jackson speaking.
More than we need more.
I tried to not show any emotion, act like a macho.
Fred
This is a good way to go. When he finished, I just couldn't hold it anymore. I just went into tears.
A lot of people underestimated what the government would do to oppress a real, true poor people's movement.
And what did he do? He formed coalitions. That's what he did.
I am personally grieved over the death of Fred Hampton because he was a personal friend of mine. So it is that those who are symbolic of challenging America's injustice tend to have to die unless we make a real radical and revolutionary change in this society.
They sprayed this wall with 30 caliber machine gun fire. They shot people who were on the bed asleep.
The physical appearance of this apartment does not reveal any shooting out or reveal shooting in.
All indications to me, personally, that this was obviously a political assassination.
Ordered by whom?
Who was there?
Ordered by whom?
I have no idea. Who does the state's attorney get their orders from?
These bumbling police officers that carried that out, I don't even think they thought they were committing a crime. I think they thought they could get away with murdering people.
Witnesses who have seen the apartment say there is no evidence of bullets from the direction where the Panthers supposedly were to be.
I said that after our officers announced their purpose and their station several times, they were fired upon from within the room.
It's the same thing they use every time. So this is 50, 60 years ago. And we just had the environmental activists shot and killed. And they said, he shot us first. The autopsy came out. He was shot, his hands up. Bullets through his hands. Lies. Just like here. The U.S. representative just a minute ago in this same video came out and said there don't appear to be any exit wounds from the apartment. All shots were incoming. But the lying-ass police representative just said they were shot upon.
Hammer hand.
Known tactic of just lying.
And a good Irishman like that, I'm on his side, regardless. My kind of guy, that was the thought. These are bad guys. They're after us, they're hoodlums, and they're fair game.
They knew exactly what they were doing. You know, they weren't killing Fred Hampton. You know, they were killing the whole movement.
People were confused. There was chaos. People didn't know which way to go. People began to turn on each other. And it forced us as an organization to completely go underground.
If Cha-Cha is underground, Fred dead, they created the Nexus. So it was a downtime, man. It was bad.
All of us had to go on our own separate ways. I had gone back to my hometown and had gotten harassed there. They considered me to be a communist. It always followed us around everywhere we were.
Everybody was losing contact. Everybody was spreading all over the country. A lot of areas were displaced, gentrified. So people had to move. So we lost contact for many years. Bit by bit, we were regaining some of the contacts back.
I talked to Bobby Lee. He was telling me that he just doesn't feel very good. He called me a couple of days and said he had cancer and that he He was, he's not going to take any chemo. And that's fine. I knew I had to come, here.
How you doing, Mr. Panther? Hey, brother. Peace to you, man. Yeah, you too. Man, it's good to see you.
Who would dream that you and I meet each other?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, it's shot coming behind. Rainbow Coalition Part 2.
Mr. Robert E. Lee, sir.
All parts of the people, man.
This is it. Oh, yeah.
How Fred was said, you can kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill a revolution. And we're an example of that.
All power to the people.
These are the warriors. They in the room. You have white Panthers and you have Black Panthers.
You have Puerto Rican Panthers too. They're just called Young Lords. They're just a subsidiary.
We didn't know that we were going to be lifelong friends, but we've ended up being lifelong friends.
We're leaving pretty soon. I just want to know, what do you want me and other people to remember?
You keep serving the people, man. If it's just 3 or 4 hours a day, you do something. Like my mom would say, save your own soul. Do something for life. And that's pretty much how simple it is, man.
He didn't really see skin color. He saw more of the people inside, the power that people could have to unite and to love each other. And that's what he wanted.
It was a display of violence that caused a state of emergency to be issued in Virginia.
Now, the same white nationalist group plans to hold 2 rallies right here in Middle Tennessee.
Must be the area that they're coming from over here. I think that's the checkpoint of the Nazis and the white supremacists up there.
We start the deportation. Now we start the deportation. What democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what diversity looks like. This is what.
Young Patriots in Chicago discontinued the use of the Confederate flag. We got into the Rainbow Coalition. We had to take a completely different look at the meaning of that flag. After a point, we thought there's no use for that flag here anymore. What that flag really stands for is hate.
On December 4th, 1972, I ended up turning myself in, which was the day Fred Hampton was killed. Intentionally, turned myself in to let people know that the reason I was coming back was to continue our movement, the Rainbow Coalition. We didn't think that elections were going to give us revolution, but we saw it as a tool to continue to struggle. My campaign for alderman was used as an organizing vehicle for change.
We did voter registration drives. That was the first time that many Latinos were voting.
Hanrahan, he was on the ballot to run for re-election. Members of the Rainbow Coalition circulated petitions asking for people to make a commitment of conscience to remember that he had been behind the murder of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark.
The entire Black community revolted and voted for a Republican state's attorney.
There's nothing I hate worse than defeat, Bob. But you can't roll over and cry.
That began a fracturing of the grip that the machine held on the community. It was the last of the big city machines to be cracked in any way.
When the curtain comes down, and it's bound to someday, I'll just say I did the best I could.
That concept of the Rainbow Coalition, it brought a lot of people together. The concept helped elect Harold Washington, mayor of Chicago.
Blacks, whites, Hispanics have joined hands to form a new democratic coalition.
The Rainbow Coalition, it presented a possibility. You know, it gave us a vision for what could be in terms of interracial politics.
Our flag is red, white, and blue, but our nation is rainbow. Red, yellow, brown, black, and white.
They are the members of what Jesse Jackson calls his Rainbow Coalition.
The idea of the rainbow, I think that was a beautiful, beautiful notion of repudiating racism. That groups could acknowledge their common problems despite the huge legacy of racial antagonism and racial hostility that existed in a place like Chicago. It's phenomenal.
I think that the time will come when the people themselves will take the power that belongs to them to their hands and move.
Racial profiling has to stop, Mr. Speaker. Just because someone wears a hoodie does not make them a hooligan.
Barack Obama came to Chicago because he heard about the rainbow politics in Harold Washington.
I think at the time we had some romantic notion of what the revolution would be. Clearly that didn't happen, but that doesn't mean that we didn't revolutionize society. It's still in the psychic memory of people in Chicago. We still have the hope that we can come back together and fight to change things.
They didn't bait us. I don't want nobody to think that. They didn't bait us. We did what we set out to do. We made a better community.
The Rainbow Coalition gave voice to the voiceless, and their activism demonstrated that ordinary people can change society through collective action.
Today, ordinary people can change society through collective action. I think that's a good sentence to end at least the plan of the documentary on, and I'll read a couple of points. Now, to answer the question about when they dropped the Confederate flag, he didn't mention the date, and you heard him towards the end of the video answer that question of, we eventually dropped it, but he doesn't mention a year of when they dropped it. And I also want to read a snippet from, is it The Conversation? Yeah. This article here, Chicago 1969, when Black Panthers aligned with Confederate-flag-wielding working class whites. I guess I'll put this in the description box in just a few minutes, and I'm going to scroll down here. Let's blow this up and censor this here. I think that's it. All right, so we'll read just a little bit of this, very small amount of this, to kind of address a couple of things, and I'll put this up here. Where was I? Here. All right, during this period, a radical coalition formed that might seem impossible today. A group of migrant Southerners and working class white activists called the Young Patriots joined forces with the Black Panthers in Chicago to fight systemic class oppression. So how did this alliance form, and how can its lessons be applied to today's political moment? Now, I want to go in and read a particular part here. Oh, right down here. One was the Young Patriots, which was based in hillbilly Harlem, an uptown neighborhood of Chicago, populated by displaced white Southerners. Many Young Patriot members were racist and they flaunted controversial symbols associated with Southern pride, such as the Confederate flag. But like blacks and Latinos, the white young patriots and their families experienced discrimination in Chicago. In their cases, it was because they were poor and from the South. So just to speak to that point, now let's scroll down here. Former members of the Chicago Panthers and Young Patriots tell different versions of the same story of how the group connected. Each attended the other's organizing meetings and decided to work together on their common issues. Over time, the Black Panthers learned to tolerate Confederate flags as intransigent signs for rebellion. Their only stipulation was the white young patriots denounced racism. Eventually, young patriots rejected their deeply embedded ideas of white supremacy and even the Confederate flag, as they realized how much they had in common with the Black Panthers and Latino young lords. And I'll stop there. You can go check this out. I'll put this let me shrink it back down so you can see it correctly. It's from a website, The Conversation, and this is the article here. So I'll put that in the description box right now. But again, the lesson to be learned here is when poor people of all ethnicities, backgrounds, religions, generations come together, you can be a powerful force to stop oppression, repression, by coalitioning together. So that is what RBN preaches. Great decent documentary. I'm not gonna shit on it, but it was a decent documentary. Love the extra footage though that I found of the actual meeting, and I'm gonna look through some more of that footage because there's a lot more and it's different things. Maybe we'll, once I figure out what else is in there, there'll be a subsequent I Am the Revolution episodes. So we shall see. I'm gonna go through super chats and a couple of other things. Do I have anything else to share on the topic? Thank you for everybody that stuck around. Make sure you hit that like button. We got up to like 270 some odd people, 300 people or so. So hit that like button. Let's try to get to 300 likes. Last time I checked, we were at 255, so not too far away, like 45 more. Thank you for everybody that joined. Like I said, when you join these discussions, I feel like these are the people, or you are the people who are most ready for revolution, or you're part of the alphabet crew, one of the alphabet teams that's here listening in on things and chatting and trying to look normal. So, all right, so let's go to some comments here. Oh, shout out where you're from. Always like to do that when we get to the end of these presentations. Shout out your city, state, country, if you're not in the United States. And we shall toss that up. Did I close the other thing I had open here? Maybe I closed it. Yeah, maybe I closed it, which is all right. All right, so that's going to complete today's episode of I Am the Revolution. I'm going to toss up some super chats and then we'll be out here momentarily. Here's Andrew. Andrew's going to be appearing tonight. What's up, Andrew? Andrew's going to be appearing tonight, I believe. Aren't you, Andrew, appearing tonight? Are you going to be on, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're not appearing. There's Nick at Night, so I don't know if you're, but Andrew, if you're not appearing, but Andrew is a person who has a couple of times been on Nick at Night. So what's up, Andrew? Hey, CJ, really appreciate you playing this doc today. I can send you another one about aim and wounded knee. We just passed the 50th anniversary. Absolutely. Get that to Nick and he can get it to me or get it to me directly, however you want to do that. And that is something we can cover here. So thank you for that, Andrew. I put up the other super chat earlier, so thank you for all the super chats. I'll play this this sort of behind the scenes footage. Here goes another one here. Boogie Down Bronx, New York. I haven't heard Boogie Down Bronx in a while. What's up? Thank you for the super chat, Mr. Brosero, I believe. That's how you say it. Long Beach, California. Ron, what's up, Ron? That's where I want to reach out to Shama Sawant to build or to create a chapter for worker strike back out of Long Beach, because I feel like Long Beach is kind of pretty progressive. So Long Beach is the city I would like to do that out of. So Ron, hopefully you're still around when you're a member, I believe. So yes, you are. So you'll be around. We'll let you know when that happens. Who else? Any other? Oh, Chandler, Arizona. Any other West Coasters? And we have Michelle Ita from France. Regular. What's up, Michelle? We have Honolulu, Hawaii. Lots of military action going on. Lots of troops coming to town. Something going down, people. So, yes, that is a lot of a staging ground for some things are there in Hawaii. So, you're saying there's an uptick of military troops over there. So, something's going on that we haven't been told about, or we haven't found out about. Phoenix, Arizona here. Where is that? All right, so I think China flexed. Oh wow, we got Santa Ana, California. I'm all over Southern California, so I have stories for almost every city. Santa Ana is one of them. Used to party in Santa Ana a couple of times. Friends in Santa Ana, so I know Santa Ana pretty well. When I was a DJ for a gentleman's club, it was in Anaheim, and some of the people that worked there lived in Santa Ana, so used to hang out in Santa Ana too. But anyway, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you for joining. Hit that like button on your way out. These episodes are the most important episodes when we're talking about building a movement or revolution. So let's make sure our comrades are able to see it by liking, sharing this video. And I don't know what we're going to be watching, but this is more behind the scenes footage of the coalition between the two.
And if you expect Uptown to change overnight, you've got to get coming.
It's
and if you think this council
forward, changing for the rich.
Right. The motion now says that we will present the program that they have accepted.
We'll have our day.
Right on.
You're not using up for the poor.
The people in the audience will be heard when there's not a council member speaking.
I reserve my time. You know, for a long time, we've been coming here and we've been quite little children. Community people, they ask for citizen participation. I want to show you where citizen participation goes and how it's voted up on. Except those points are presented tonight, they're voted on, and not only voted on, we was going to just ask voted up or down, but passed. I'll guarantee you that this council will not be met with no more, and this council will not meet again, and there's 200 more citizens that's meeting at Threshold tomorrow night to see that it's ended.
Your remarks.
Number one.
The remarks are very much out of order. To do with citizens' participation, which is a document which is not being considered tonight. there any further discussion concerning this motion? All those of you in favor of voting, please raise your hand. If you wish to vote at this time, take your seat. Raise your hand.
What are you going to get for used to be one?
Doesn't need it. It's right there.